World. Didn't know you were watching. Sodaron here. So, what I have for you today is the MSI finals of 2022 T1 versus RNG. And so this is game one of my BOD review series. I've been promising you in the last 6 videos to get this series, and finally it's here. So let's dive in. Let's see if the microphone, does it sound better where it is? I was worried about it being too close to my mouse, but maybe it doesn't matter. I'm still learning this, so I'm learning where the clips are, and most people don't care or want to know. So anyways, let's get going. I have 3 pages of notes that I've prepared for you. I've watched these games 3 times. I watched them live. I got up in the middle of the night for you all, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, and watched them for 2 weeks. And then I went back and watched them 2 more times and took notes. The first time, and then the second time I made even more meticulous notes. So, without further ado, here is game 1 with T1 versus RNG. And RNG got blue side. I think it was a coin flip. So here we go. Let's get into this. This isn't my first one of these, so this is the one we've been waiting for. The feedback I hear from others, it's not my own personal opinion. I don't have opinions. But the feedback I'm hearing from the majority of people is they don't like MSI. And so it was a... See, I think it's okay because it helps expose the lower teams, and it's going to someday maybe grow the regions where like Vietnam is a major region, and like the Oceania. So I do see where these big teams playing the small ones, it's exposed. Like, people didn't know Saigon Buffalo until here. So any growth, growth in a smaller region is great. So to some, maybe the games were boring, but they are necessary to help grow the regions. So this here is maybe one of the actual only real series of 2 teams that are almost evenly matched. So anyways, of course RNG banned LeBlanc against Faker. So RNG banned LeBlanc, Zaya, and Renata, and T1 banned Wukong, Lucian, and Ari. RNG gets their first pick of Gwen. I almost said Ben, but of Ben's Gwen, which is pretty strong. We may see at the end of this game how strong it is. I need to get my sheet out here. Here's my pick ban sheets that I make. People probably don't like them out there, but maybe it'll grow on them. I need to find a better way to share them with you. Okay, so T1 draft Jace first, and the second pick is Nocturne. I don't really understand those picks because they're not meta. I know Zeus, that's his best champion, is Jace. That's supposedly what he's famous for. And it may be so RNG don't get Nocturne because it just seems like a really good counter for Faker to just dive in on him every time and you take him out of the fight. But then this ends up giving RNG, I think I went over it with against EG in the first draft. This is about the same draft with RNG here of Gwen, Viego, and Galio. You're giving those 3 players probably their best champs, or close to being their best champs, because Zhaohu's already showed he's really good with Galio, and Wei, even from LPL spring finals and playoffs, LPL spring, Viego is probably Wei's best champion. And so here T1, I don't know, they're just throwing throwing out odd picks, I think, in the first game just to test the waters and see what they can get away with. So we haven't seen Jace at this tournament. We've seen Nocturne, but we haven't seen Azir. There's a meta that grows at each of these tournaments. So RNG ban Ezreal, which I don't really get that because I don't really recall Gumayusi being a good Ezreal. I don't think he's known for that. He's known more for Jinx and Aphelios. So I've got my paper here. So the last ban RNG get is Senna. I probably need to start using my cursor where I'm looking, and then that would help everyone at home. And then T1 are going to ban Kai'Sa and Kalista for their last bans, which we can't see. I don't know where to put this pick ban thing. I need to find a different way to share this. But anyways, which I will. I'll figure it out. Guma, he's pretty well known Caitlyn player, which I'm a big fan of Caitlyn, but we don't see her much in the pro matches, or at least up at the higher tier pro matches.
6 games, 6 wins for Gumayusi on the Caitlyn this year. And generally when we see Caitlyn, we see
and sometimes I will throw it to the casters because they'll give you information that I can't and I would like you to hear over. It's more important than what I could tell you. So I want to be entertaining. I want to give you. I don't want to give dead air. I don't know, but it's almost impossible. We got a one-man show here, and there's only so much I can do in this operation. So I don't really know how they decided who's the home team in the final. Really, it should be T1 because they're at home in Korea, but oh, and RNG take Tristana. I don't know if it's like a last-ditch thing. So T1 can't take it against Galio because earlier T1 showed that when they kind of stomped G2 in the first game, they took Tristana mid as a Galio counter, and it worked very well. You just roam around the map, take down the turrets, and Galio can't keep up with you. We got a really weird draft from T1 here. I mean, it's like they're just throwing out some bait or something and just seeing what they can catch. Fishing RNG or trolling them.
But this is an extremely dominant lane 2v2. You want to have owner playing around that bot side, trying to protect them.
And so we've got a 33-minute game here. I don't know if I should give away who wins or who loses. I've showed this in my other videos, but this is the pick ban system I make to catalog games, so I can have a way to catalog the beginning and end. And I came up with this back in Season 6. I haven't really updated it. I really need to. But this shows the pick. This shows the bans up here, 1 through 3, then 4 and 5. And then this is the pick order for blue team. Blue I always put on the left side, and I always put the red side on the right side. And then this is the team comp they end up with. The top laner, the jungler, the mid laner, their summoner spells, their runes. Oh, I don't know, it's just information I like to have to start analyzing a game. It gives me a starting point and an ending point in the game. So we don't need that now, so here's the game. Okay, so
any additional dive picks.
T1's doing their normal fan out. They don't invade. And we've got RNG grouping up here 50 seconds into the game, and they're invading. Remember this, because this may be the entire turning point to this game. Because I've said in my previous VODs how this game is very momentum based. And so probably out of all the team members on this T1 roster, the thinnest skin one is Guma. So that might have set him off a little bit right here, this first death, and it gave RNG probably the momentum through the entire game. But anyways, so T1 started their red, RNG started their blue. At least Guma didn't use his heal or his flash. Ming used his ignite, so there, got to write that down at 55 seconds. Oh, T1 didn't take their red yet.
Because if that's the case, that can really hurt. He did skill Q, so he didn't actually do it. So yeah, he just held on to it. They're going to be playing for a lane, but it's going to be a lot more.
Azir is pushed all the way up into mid.
Any additional potions here, still, Carriot can help with the shove, and we'll see how effective they can be. If you can land the binding, it's easy to follow it up with the trap. That's
oh, one other thing I didn't point out yet. Yeah, I had to. This gave Gala a much better start than it gave Guma. That first kill went to the very wrong person, and so he has 4 health pots and 2 long swords to start out with in lane, which is going to make this horrible for Guma. I guess that's why RNG went for that, because Caitlyn and Morgana for Tristan Nautilus would be awful to lane into. So that must have been pre-planned from RNG. They know Guma's kind of a unpredictable player, so they targeted him, and that's why that invade worked perfectly. So I'm sure they pre-planned that to get Guma to snowball this game and give Gala this better start. So like I said earlier, this I think is like the turning point of the entire game right in the beginning when Guma dies. And then the kill and the gold and everything goes over to Gala, the worst person that Guma could even give it to.
Ridiculous gold leads. You can see 85% of first heralds, 100% of first heralds. They average 4.5 kills at 14 minutes, and the
I think that caught T1 off guard. Anyways, we're on to mid lane. Faker didn't have to use any of his summoner spells to dodge that.
The reason why I wanted to bring attention to T1's early game dominance was because this is actually a style that RNG is very used to. Domestically,
T1, about every game they play, all 3 of their lanes are always shoved up into the enemy side.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And largely it was about their team fighting. And as we said, it was about Gala in the later stages.
Early, this is really rough for Nautilus.
5v5 stage later on.
And Tristana into Caitlyn and Morgana. So
I think he was trying to buffer it. Maybe he was expecting he might get hit, so buffering the rocket jump.
I guess the extra longsword and health pot isn't a huge deal, because naturally Caitlyn and Morgana are gonna win that lane early.
They can't get an advantage. You really do want to try to chip out the Trist, push them in, and then harass them under tower and start bombing place. Because when you're playing these double range lanes with Caitlyn, it's not just about the 2v2, it's about winning the 2v2, then getting out on the map and being able to farm plates across the map. You have to play from
There's a lot going on in this game. Trying to figure out what to point out, what to hold on to.
It wasn't just the fact that Gala got gold out of the first kill, it's the fact that he was able to get all of these pots. Because although Gumayushi and Carrier have the pushing lane, they have the pressure in this lane, Gala can just stand back, accept that he's going to be 10, 15,
and T1 can push
but not lose too much because
they got their summoner spells up. So
they've had the push, just right. They've already gotten their first play here.
I think that's how they play it. Is they shove up the lanes like that if they got a summoner spell up or if they have flash up.
Early Lucidity Boots, I always love on Nocturne. You hit 6. You sometimes just take the second blue buff, and then you have Lucidity Boots. You have the extra CDR. You use that first ult. If you can get a kill there, rinse and repeat. Back to farming.
So RNG claimed the top scuttle and the Scryer's Bloom. They've got Vision of Red's jungle. Ben uses his TP at 445, so that's one of the things to keep track of in chat.
On the other side of the matchup, constantly forcing fights where Yankos was forced to respond, but he didn't really want to. He wants to be waiting for the
It's really hard to keep track of the scuttle crabs on my side out of the game when I'm watching these replays. Zeus uses his TP, so there's Faker still has an advantage. Zhaohu used his. Which Jace got a pretty good spike there in power with the lethality item. Then set a cooldown boots on Galio and Nocturne. And there at 536, Faker's using his teleport finally, so there's no TP advantage to make a play on the opposite side of the map.
RNG have covered that with multiple pink wards. They have the scuttle.
And see, that's one of the observer things I'm talking about is I couldn't tell if that scuttle was up or not. I can't keep track of those.
That they are looking to play towards. Yahoo Predator popped here. A Lucidity boot rush for him as well. But of course, it is spotted out by that pink ward. So Carry and Gumayusi able to.
So you know, from this point of view, is it? You know, it looks like Red has no vision up in the jungle or no vision on the map whatsoever. I don't know if that's like Riot's Observer does this thing where you only see one team's vision and then it confuses you. So
relief of pressure. It's going to be a good thing here for Gala and Ming.
But I assume at this point it's just T1 doesn't have any vision on the map.
And I do want to bring up as well, yesterday when we saw T1...
Well, didn't they get this scuttle here, though? See, it's not showing their vision when it...
We saw Caps being heavily punished in the lane. So, part of that was because of the Tristana that he was playing into.
That's why I would like to get with, like, in the professional scene, so I could maybe get actual replays. I don't know if they show actual replays or not, or if they share actual in-game replays or not, if among the pro scene, but it would be nice.
Contrast the amount of control RNG have. And again, I want to bring us back to that final versus top esports, the ways in which they would mitigate that pressure, try and weather that storm.
So I guess no one here values the dragon.
Control, good vision, and just doing what they could.
Surprised that RNG isn't going for the dragon. It might be because of the lanes. Gallia got it. So Ming used his ignite. Kara used his ignite.
With so much patience there, they get the kill. And perfect follow-up from Ming, flashing in. There's actually 0 wards. 1 ward now placed on the map by T1. That pink ward that just got dropped by Owner topside. They literally had no wards on the entire map, which was pretty shocking to see. You know, multiple sweepers.
So while that was happening, Owner was over here stealing Blue's blue buff away from him, and Zeus is pushed to clear up into Ben's turret, which if you've watched the other series with me, Ben, that never happens to Ben.
Trinkets were all in cooldowns. No one had a pick down, so didn't have any track.
Which also I heard that Ben is replaced on RNG now with Breathe, which if you won MSI, keep him. I mean, you did really well. But I guess they originally wanted Breathe, so they made the switch. So that'll be interesting. And it comes back into the elephant in the room here. How much do pro teams value MSI? It's a pretty good question.
From RNG, and just a really good window of opportunity there, recognizing that the way
Faker's gonna get up and try to get a turret played at least, and then I'm sure back off.
Also think holistically is a very young player, right? When we think about the average age, obviously we talk a lot about how young the talent is from T1
for way.
Oh, and the players I want to try to watch and keep track of are Carrier, and Ming. They roam a lot.
International games, it is very few. Of course,
Ming's not even 5, and not even level 6, and he's roaming. Clear up in top lane. They're gonna help. They're planning to help Ben relieve the pressure that's being applied. So I don't know exactly how that's gonna play out. Obviously, Carry is down in mid lane, and Guma gets left alone early a good bit, and same with Gala.
in terms of international games, but
Not just this game, but in general.
very recently for the actual lineup of RNG.
Yeah, he only started with them, you know, at the start of 2021. Ben coming in at the start of 2022. Gala has only been there since summer 2020. You know, the 3 young players are on RNG.
Okay, so we got Guma going down in the bottom lane when there's a fight brewing right now at Herald, where he should probably go coming over here. It looks like Gala is going up. RNG already targeted the Herald. I don't know what T1 decided in this.
You know, it's 19, 19, and 21 for Gala, so it's a lot.
I don't think T1's just going to let RNG get away with the Herald for free. If they don't go for the Herald, they're going to take a bunch of stuff somewhere else on the map and make up for the gold they would have got from the Herald. Yeah, I guess they are going to try and take, since RNG's occupied with this Herald, and they've got all 5 of them up here. We've got the 2 bottom lane of T1 down here. They're going to try to get that first, we call it first brick. So either Zeus or Guma down here are going to try to get that first brick, which is probably more valuable than the Herald that RNG just invested to obtain. And now Carrier got his level 6, which is important. Ming doesn't have his yet. So RNG realized they got to rush clear back down the bottom lane because they T1 didn't try to stop them from the Herald, so they.
But I mean, they're just playing it so mechanically impressively across this whole year that, you know, Faker showcased yesterday that he can dominate sometimes in the 1v1, but he doesn't always have to. He often does play more of a skill.
I think that's one of the best, or that's one of the things I see in the top teams compared to the not so top teams, is they're okay backing off with something like that. Like Gala wasted some gold and time trying to get up to Herald. Or like Ming, he could have got level 6 and some more gold and XP, but he wasted a lot of time going from bottom lane clear up to Herald and back down. But that's what you got to do. You got to put your team first.
He isn't forced to take risks.
And so players that aren't Gala, I guess, would probably already be frustrated at his teammates because he just lost a wave or 2 when it's irrelevant. The objective was what was important. And then even saving this turret from going down was what was important over losing the wave or 2 of trying to take the Herald. But regardless.
For the moment, he hasn't actually been forced to move out of his lane too much either. 20 CS up over Cheryl on this Galio. Of course, T1 had this pressure in the bottom lane, and we thought...
Do we have any stopwatches in this game? No.
Has been in the right position. Obviously, first blood helped with that. But T1 still at the 10-minute mark, about 1,000.
So Zhaohu is going to roam and I guess take a dive on Zeus. Because there's no sweepers back here. No wards he's checking. Even though I don't know, like, I guess he knows that's not warded because Zeus was pushed clear up here.
T1 have drafted 3 winning lanes. They're pushing top, pushing mid, and pushing bot. And you can see that CS discrepancy really starting to build across all 3 lanes.
There again, that's a teammate. He roamed up here to make a play, so he probably lost some CS. But he was making the play was more important. But then also, besides making the play, you got to know when to back off. That is important. All right. Sorry about that.
Have 2 plates in the top lane. They have 1 plate in mid lane. They have 3 plates in bot lane. They are leveraging their early
And so,
trade in
10
order
minutes
to
in,
secure
Zhao
this.
who's
Sure,
using
they
his
are finding
TP.
skills, but at the end of the day, their composition is doing what
Fakers
it
isn't
is
up
to
yet.
do, which is win lane, and RNG are just doing their best, as we repeatedly discussed, to try and weather that
On the
storm,
page 2 of
mitigate that
this.
pressure, and limit T1's impact in the early game.
And my big question on if T1 can begin to snowball that is how effective is the first
So
non-world
is
going to be, right?
T1
These
is looking
three
like they're
CDRs,
maybe
they
going to
actually
take
guys
Dragon.
first
No,
shadow,
they don't
have
value
access to
Dragon.
which always does feel really nice. Caulfield's Kindle
I
Gem
mean, they
is
have
well,
the
like
Scuttle
CDR
Crab on
boots,
it.
but he is level 7. He wants to get out there on the map, try to get active. If you can get that first kill, start to convert, some of these early tower plates that you've gotten into something more, into a full first tower.
I need to figure out a better way to show you than this. I'm trying to show you with my cursor where I'm looking at. It's not working out very well.
The 5v5 is going to be really difficult for Owner.
How on earth are you going to be able to get on a backline when Tristana can just jump away when you have a Galio in front of you? And you have been just wrecking through your backline. We did see Ace in the hole used by Gumushi just for some harass down towards that bottom side. Ming has left Gala alone
And
for a while as RNG trying to set up around
there
this
are
first
many
round.
other
It's been
things
4
I
minutes
could
into the
point
T1
out to
jungle, got a bit
you.
of vision down. You can see
I would
once
have to
again,
rewind
T1
and
with
show you and
three
rewind
more
again.
top
So
lane,
we're
two
just
in the
gonna
top
go
lane, one in the top
go
lane.
through
I think
a look,
contest
a
this
glance at
dragon
this
as
game and
RNG will take it.
And RNG is
try to
one of the
point
only
things
teams that
out
has really been
that maybe
prioritizing
others don't
dragons
realize or
in
see.
this event. It has been a much more
But
fast-paced event.
we
The
do
average game
know
time
and see
29-16,
more
so very few teams
than
are
we're
able to get
sharing
the
in this
soul.
video.
But RNG, throughout the Rumble stage, had a 70% first
The
dragon
target
rate.
is the
T1
general
44%.
audience.
They are focusing much more on Herald in general, but this game, RNG able to get both Herald and that first dragon, so going to be feeling really good about that as the gold gap.
I should have. So RNG didn't get a good Herald off. Actually,
Even states.
And I'm looking at the gold right
both
now.
teams
Is in fact ahead of his lane
didn't
counterpart.
really gain or lose anything. It's about the same.
RNG leveraging this fog of war. We already talked about
T1's like 6K ahead, 600, 700 gold,
Good flash away from Carrier Ming.
which the last games we watched together were huge gold leads in most of the games. So here we got a game where we're 12 minutes into the game and the gold is tied up.
The Nocturne is hovering around. They have this ward, they have this ward. They also have these 2 control wards in the top river. It's just complete river dominance from the side of RNG, and they're just keeping an eye
But
on
so
what Nocturne is doing. You talked
T1
about
have
this,
that 1K gold, so they came out on top, I guess, on the Herald trade.
Crushing in the vision game right now. T1 is getting choked out as far as that goes. They're not really having many eyes on this. Finn just using his
This is something I don't know. I think personally, Wei could have punished Zeus, and Zeus kind of went unpunished.
Zeus was threatening the dive and chipping this down. He does have TP, so he's just going to use the ult, clear out the wave, base, come back, and yes, Finn is getting pressured, but I have to say, he's
We've watched Ben in our past VODs where he was running Teleport and Ignite, and in this game he has Ghost, and he's can't even get away from his turret the entire game.
very good job of keeping the farm even. And this matchup, especially when Gwen goes Ghost, gets
Jace is supposed to be Zeus's best champion. That's number one. Jace got pretty nerfed pretty good before this tournament, so that's why he wasn't a normal pick. I don't really know how the Gwen and the Jace matchup goes. I'm guessing Jace kind of counters Gwen.
really scary later on for Jace, because in these extended lanes, especially once you get towards
So
Rift
Ben
Maker,
uses his
there's the
teleport,
potential to get
13
Jace down.
minutes in,
It's partly the knock-on
and
effect
oh,
of
we
knowing
got a
where Owner
pause.
is all the time. Bin knows, hey, I'm under my tower with 500 HP. I don't have to be scared of Owner ulting me because he's on the other side of the map. We have vision on him the entire time. And because of that, he can take, some not great trades under his tower just to clear out the way.
Wow, okay, so we get brief reprieve, obviously.
Just glancing at my...
Because, like, the
It's a shame. I've got all these notes and things, and I'm not even going to share them. But it did help me realize... or I mean, it helped me analyze this stuff. Okay, so I'm sure everyone doesn't want to watch this pause,
So, what I
so
wanted to talk
we
about
will
is
skip forward,
You work with Freak enough.
get back into the game.
what RNG get drafted and into the style that RNG typically likes to play.
And obviously, as T1 starts to take these
So we're 13 minutes into the game. One of my notes, 13:30, Ming gets spotted. Oh, I remember this. And actually, Ming doesn't get spotted. If you noticed right there, that little ring of his sweeper Just barely didn't touch that.
2v1 plays in that top or bottom lane.
I want to
Right, it's just right on the outside of that radius of that ward's vision radius.
very quickly once
And
again.
so
draw
he
your attention
doesn't
to
get
Ming now.
spotted.
These supports, their rogue timings.
Ming missed
Ming
that
will be
ward.
spotted out, but Carrier doing the exact same thing. This vision war is really going to be decided by two of the best supports in the world.
So did he get lucky? Did he know that ward was there? Is he better than Carrier? Or is Carrier better than Ming? These are questions that I ask myself.
Faker has TP, and they know Wei and Ming are in this bush. So
Yeah,
unless
they're
they're
moving
back, they know exactly where they are. Kerry is here, Owner's here, Faker can TP in.
So RNG are going to dive Zeus. They've got Ben, Ming, and Wei up top. What's going on around the map? Gala is going back down the bottom lane solo. Guma is probably going to come top lane, but I don't know yet.
He's in a position to TP right now. He's just making his way back towards the mid lane. RNG, this trap. They don't know that they are the ones.
Yeah, they have unleashed TP right now. I
So
think that's
Gala's
maybe what
down
they're
there
waiting for,
alone. He
because
could
the
be
TP
punished
ward is
right now.
actually available just across the
Faker
map.
goes
There we
back
go.
to mid lane. Oh, so what's... Yeah, they see Guma is going top. I think RNG was wanting Guma down here. They were trying to lure him down here. So what happened in this picture? Nautilus's ult went off. Is that it? Or any other summoner spells?
It's out, there's the Black Shield as well. The hook goes wide. Owner coming in with the
Nocturne
ultimate.
ult.
TP by Faker.
Faker's TPing in. Alright, so this might be bad for RNG because they might need Gala up here.
T1.
Zalhu, he's trying to get in range for his ult.
They set the trap and RNG walks
Faker
with
gets a
this
good
fighting into
Azir ult off. There we go. Zalhu was just in range for his ult. So what do we got? We got an outnumbered fight, right? Because I mean, Gala is bottom where he. That's where I don't know who did right or wrong. We could go back and look again. Why exactly did Guma back then? And yada yada, but again, we're just doing first glance, and we could go much further detail into this, but I'm sure the majority of everyone out there would not care to know. So, Carrier had a stopwatch. He used his ult.
Doesn't want the resets. He's going to be able to get one. Zeus on the back line, forced out by Ben. He will fall as well. Gumayushi now joins the fray. It is a 2 for 2 in the top lane.
This is really good for RNG though, because Gala is alone
yeah.
in the bottom lane. He could potentially take this first tower right now. This would be the first time they had lost first tower. We'll see if he can even win the race. He lost his minions, so it's going to be really close.
I highly doubt Gala down there is going to push this turret down before Faker and Guma, even though Tristana eats turrets down really fast. She eats turrets for breakfast.
But waiting until it was post 14 minutes, so Faker could join.
Got the second Herald up and the Scuttle Crab up too.
Really intelligent, very well orchestrated.
In the top Scuttle Crab.
Out of it. Xiaohu getting up there with the ulti. Bin's ult came off cooldown barely at the end, so he could win out against Zeus as well.
And I think what's
Jace is going bottom where Jace should be going. Gala, I'm sure, will be going mid now. This is the mid game thing I talk about, where at mid game the bottom laner goes mid and then gets protected by all the other teammates on his team, while the solo laners top and mid go top and bottom,
they didn't have to
and
commit.
on and on.
It was very situational based on whether or not RNG chose to try and spring that trap, which they did. They committed to try and killing Zeus. Zeus
So-
and the moment that they did, that was when T1 responded. They had Caitlyn
It's looking like T1's going to get the Herald, the second Herald, uncontested. That was one of those amazing Ming might be a god plays.
Literally doing everything that he's supposed to do, just not quite. Unfortunately, not quite catching
Ming
it.
is a very underrated player.
T1 then notice it. So Faker, he's just catching this.
I've heard over the years top LPL players say that Ming was the best.
Giving anything away.
Such a good
Then
bait.
the moment that the engage comes through. The moment the RNG overstep in the lane and the ultimate comes through, that's when the TP strikes.
Yeah, but Ben was such a problem here. You know, even though he didn't start the fight with the ulti, was able to really buy a lot of time there.
Zhaohu's using his TP down the bottom.
Zeus has no tower here to defend him. This should be an easy
Zeus was just overextended.
Was able to really buy a lot of time there. Now that's
We didn't find out Faker was going mid. Okay.
flank here coming in from Xiaohu. Remember, tier 1's down.
Yeah, Zeus has no tower here to defend him. This should be an easy enough kill for the RNG top laner and mid laner. There's the taunt. No flash.
There's no saving him, you know. So what's going to happen is T1 is just going to take the Herald.
They hand that one over to Bin, and T1 is going to cross map it on the top side of the map with a Herald. So good use of the TP from Xiaohu in order to punish the
Maybe T1 baited RNG there so they could take the Herald. I mean, it kind of looked like that.
well, I guess the towerless Zeus in that position. His team was on the top side of the map. He ends up getting caught.
And it's going to be hard now because Ben actually just got back-to-back kills, right? He is going to be going, you know...
T1 could have literally baited RNG to do that so they could get the Herald for free.
He's got his first dagger, going to be working towards that Nashor's, so you know, will be looking really strong in the 1v1, and Xiaohu's going to continue playing towards him. RNG
I don't know why
continue maintaining vision control in the side.
there was a flaw of RNG is they didn't value that second Herald, I guess.
Allow them to push this up. They've already grabbed their second dragon. It's going to be Ocean Soul.
Of course, they didn't get anything from the first Herald push and buff, so maybe that's why.
Oh, Faker looked for the slide, but the dash away by Ben. He's having a game of his life right now.
Because some teams will just let you get 2 turrets with the Herald, and some will just know how to stop you, like T1.
Takes me back to his performance on Suning when they made that run towards the World Finals where they were stopped by Darmon.
I still remember those battles, Thaddeus.
Yes.
Still remember those
I mean, you
battles.
should also remember his Fiora, where he actually got a pentakill in the World
Okay,
Finals.
Carry, there is a stopwatch count, so Carry had the Zanyas in the last fight, not the stopwatch, and now Owner has a stopwatch, Zhaohu has a stopwatch, so Ming does not have his yet.
First penta we've ever had in a finals too. Like, he seems to really step up when the games matter, and I also think back to his LPL finals where he also had a very solid performance. And so, yes, his inconsistency is something that has been criticized about him and a potential weak point, but when it matters, he seems to definitely step up.
And I would say
Zeus isn't alone this time. He's got some teammates around the corner. They got the Scryer Bloom off, and then RNG got the Scuttle Crab bottom, and they just got the Dragon. Faker's up here. He's starting to get past the line, but he doesn't have teleport up.
He hasn't always just been flipping the lane in low health situations, and he's trusting that, hey, we are going to find these.
Faker likes to put players put a ward here in the middle of the mid lane. It's a good spot. Mid game and late game.
So well when it comes to later game side laning, because you can just chase down.
Even early, it's nice to see up to the opponent's turret.
You can ghost in, Xiao who can come in with the ultimate as well. It becomes very hard for Zeus to actually win out that 1v1 in the side lane.
Now, of course, we do talk a lot about how
I don't really know why Zhaohu was doing the Krugs there, but
the one caveat to that is
he must have needed like just a tiny bit more gold or something before he backed.
Yeah, that still sucks.
Yeah, Carry just used his stop or his Zanyas for no reason, but I mean it happens.
Normally I have my wards on this button.
I think so.
And then I didn't realize that when I completed
Another thing to keep track of is the wards that the supports get in their items.
We've all done it. Come on.
Because you only get 4, and then you gotta strategically put them in the best spots. We don't have unlimited number like we did back in the day.
Didn't expect to be golden, you know? This guy's Skip Prize. Don't forget to grab your exclusive Skip Prize Prime Gaming emote so you can struck. And when you flash in and turn a fight.
Or Zonya's in the middle of the fight.
Yeah. I think in this case he scare prized himself.
Guma's ult's down. I was gonna note Ben how he made sure to push that wave so it went past the line. Like he just did what you're supposed to do, is push the wave out.
You can see that both teams kind of posturing around the bottom river, trying to, once again, that vision battle constantly happening between the two teams. Right now, RNG do have that control.
I overhear that Western teams, I've heard it for years, that they don't know how to side lane, so I'm making it one of my objectives is to help Western teams learn how to side lane. Faker gets off the Scryer's Bloom on the red top side.
I think this one makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Deathcap Rush, that's a brave choice. They're like, 30 minutes in, you don't have.
So what does T1 do with their Rift Herald? Do they get a turret? Down here.
Once again, though, going to draw your attention to the minimap. Notice
There has to be a way to turn that YouTube overlay off or something.
Leverage the pressure in mid to move into the jungle, get some control, look for a bit of a pick, and even if that doesn't result in any kills, they guarantee that tower in the bot lane. So T1 leveraging their map control in order to gain some more advantages, and now they've extended the gold lead to about 2.5k.
And I'm really curious
And okay, here's Faker has a good lead over Zhaohu at this point, 20 minutes in. My rule, 100 CS at 10 minutes, 200 at 20, 300 at 30. I will preach this and preach this because I've seen it over the 10 years where players sometimes get lazy and stop farming after a while. And it's not me saying I'm better. It's just one of the things that I'm going to point out that I have seen personally that will add up later at 30 minutes into the game, 40 minutes into the game. So now T1 have the top Scuttle Crab. They'll be able to see the Baron vision, even though it's a little bit early to do Baron.
But I do think that they're in a pretty decent position. The second items are coming through for a number of their players. Gumayusi and Gala at parry, both of them hitting those 2 item spikes here pretty early. And I think they're pretty much ready to go. The Locket's going to be very effective as well.
And
to me is where T1 is their strongest.
Guma's ult's down. I heard a story today about Caps. I was listening to a podcast about League of Legends, and said person said Caps. Now, in all my videos, I've stressed to keep timestamps in game of every little thing, ult. Not everything, not like your Q or W or E, but all summoner spells, all ultimates, and Caps goes clear down to even bone plating on enemies. Their counter for that, the timer for that. And so I think I don't know, I'm not on the inside, but I see when I watch Korean solo queue that the players in solo queue type in the chat, like when somebody's flash goes down, they type in the chat exactly the time of when it'll be back up. And I don't think like NA solo queue people do that, or other regions. So I don't know, it's something I think the Western teams that struggle against like LPL and LCK teams, it's one of the things that they need to work on because it's what the other teams are doing. So if you want to get to their level, you need to do the things they do till you can beat them.
Much more aggressively, right? They're already grouping up. They're not going to bother leveraging the team.
So that's why I make a point to keep track, and that's why I use my notes. I keep track of all the summoner spells and the ults when they're down. That's a basis of what to be watching in the game. Because this game, it just looks like a bunch of stuff going on, right? I don't see it that way, and I've for years thought people see the game the way I do, and then I realized, oh wait, they don't. Yuma gets some Yordle snack traps down there in the jungle entrance, so no one can get to the dragon. This is kind of funny that T1's zoning them away, so they can't get over here to the dragon.
And ability to choke out these spaces is very strong.
Yeah, now they're going to have to try to come from creative angles here, but some of the traps are expiring, so RNG
I don't think T1 want RNG to have this dragon whatsoever, but oh, they're not fighting them very hard for it though. I don't think T1 thought they would team fight him.
An ability to choke out these spaces is very strong.
Yeah, now they're going to have to try to come from creative angles here, but some of the traps are expiring.
And let's, before we get into this, all of RNG's ults and summoners are up. Guma's ult, well, you know, Carrier's ult is just about back up. So they probably, T1 probably need that to engage. And this is probably something where RNG know that his ult is down and they're going to take advantage. This is what I'm saying. I think these are the things to keep track of when we're analyzing these games. Keep track of this stuff. It's a starting point. And there's too much information. You've got to write it down. How can you people remember every spell and everything that's went on in this game already? It's impossible. Stop trying to pretend. Stop pretending. Faker's ult's down. Nock used his ult and got nothing out of it. Carrier had his stopwatch up. Now his ult's up. But it might be a little bit too late because Owner is gone now. Ming's ult is down. Zhaohu still has his ult. Wei still has his. Ben still has his. Wei still has Flash. Gala, you see.
On the back line, Faker dodges out from the Heartbreaker with a stopwatch of his own, but it's double for Ben, Gumayusi, and Zed.
And I've been pretty down on ranged supports because I don't see them in the highest level of play. It's always a melee. It's like a Braum or a Nautilus. That's it. Or an Alistar. That's it. Because late game, the range support's going to fall off and just get all in like that. And then it's over. It's too easy to all in a range support. Take them out of the game, you know, quickly take them out, and then you've got a 4 versus 5.
Have to run for the wins. Faker down, Gala. Goomba stomping forward.
And this is going to mean so much for RNG. They get the kills, they get the dragon. Both junglers are
So,
dead. I don't think they're going to flip at Baron in
T1's kind of losing this game now. I mean, the gold, they still have a gold lead, but they're starting to get close to, RNG's starting to get close to that Dragon Soul.
I'm not sure if he bought it up after the death or not, but he went down in a hurry, and if it wasn't for a really good Zonias from Faker, he was actually going to get soloed up by Wei.
Again, I think this was just like a troll comp from, or Smurf comp, or troll comp, whatever you want to call it, from T1, that they were trying to see what they could get away with. And like when you watch Faker play a lot of the Western teams, he gets away with murder and nobody punishes him. I think Faker's amazed at the stuff he gets away with. Zhaohu's teleports down. And I think, just my personal opinion, a good bit of it comes down to the Western teams keeping track to the point, being exact, of these cooldowns on summoner spells and ultimates items. Some of them, I guess, like Jace's ult is not one that you really need to pay attention to. Or there's some other ones.
The other 4 members now playing up towards this Baron, trying to threaten this, but there's not really much threat of them being able to rush this down in the 5v4. I think would be way too dangerous. But if they are left alone,
so is T1 gonna try to bait him again? They've got him zoned out.
Objectives can kill that Baron very quickly, so RNG are gonna have to try to reclaim some vision here and always keep eyes on it.
CS does have the TP as well. RNG, I think they're not going to overcommit here. I think that if they wanted to play for anything, that top tower is looking very juicy.
Oh no, they could just recall and reset everything. They don't really need to pick a fight.
Because I think it's really important to highlight. Notice before when Zeus died once again in the side lane, it's largely thanks to this control that RNG have the map.
So there's kind of a lull going on where they don't, both teams don't know where to attack right now. They're kind of just dancing around and hoping somebody makes a mistake. And right there was kind of a mistake with Carrier getting stunned by Wei. Like I said, range support. Everyone, I know you love your Nami and your Soraka and your Sona, but at the highest level and even in solo, well, I guess it doesn't matter as much as solo queue, but the squishy range support is gone like that, and then it's an unfair fight. You know, like Faker's LeBlanc coming in and your range support is gone in one burst. Maybe it's changed a little bit now with the new healing and everything in the summer patch.
So they're spending so much time in this Baron area, setting up the trap line, trying to force RNG in to fight them. But RNG's not going to take the bait. They're close to having IE on Gala. He's the richest person in the game. You're at Dragon Soul Point here. So unless T1 are willing to absolutely just flip at an objective, they're not going to get that fight that they want from RNG.
And we think back to that last Dragon fight.
So do we have? We got a little bit of a lost state. Both supports are full ward right now. I'm looking for stopwatches. Owner still has his stopwatch. Zhao has a stopwatch. And then, of course, Carrie has his Zhonya's, which on Morgana is pretty much her core item.
They don't
A need.
about the Morgana binding. They don't care about whatever CC you have, which is very limited in its entirety. Xiaohu is more than happy to proc his Predator.
So, okay, we've got Ben pushing out the bottom lane. Zhaohu's backing. The wave is
Sprint straight at you to force these engages.
gonna crash in the top spot. That's where Faker's going to shove it back out.
And I just loved how RNG were coming from multiple angles, right? Ming in through mid lane.
Because you want these minions to be pushing over on the enemy territory. Like say if you're say you're T1, you want it to push towards RNG's base, and so like Faker, you just saw pushed this wave into this one. But then it's gonna keep pushing up on this side instead of this side until somebody from RNG would come back and start shoving instead of Faker, because somebody will come back and kind of call his push. And I didn't explain it the best, but I was trying to quickly explain the minion waves and shoving them on side lanes. Something that I've got in my presentation on my channel, and I'm trying to bring up.
Yeah, it's a scary situation to find yourself in. And again,
So Zhaohu's flash was down and just about up, and I think everyone's ready for a team fight again with all summoners and ults back up.
There's a lot of squishy members on both sides. If T1 can find that perfect engage, if they can catch Gall out, burst them down, there's always that opportunity.
I'm not doing the best job here keeping track of Ming and Carrier. They're all over the map all game.
It's all squishy members. If you can lock anyone on T1 down for about 3
And
seconds,
they're just constantly putting wards around, and then the other one's going around and sweeping them out and then replacing. It's just back and forth.
or it's going to go sideways fast.
So Guma wants to initiate the fight with his ult.
Trying to hook himself away here. No real follow-up apart from that binding. How do you get any closer to the Nautilus if he does manage
Oh, and the
to
one thing I missed was Zeus TP'd here in the mid instead of pushing a side lane.
For T1, Wei and Ming coming in from the side. RNG are on vision. Xiaohu with the taunt catches owner. There's the
And this seems like the common thing about RNG at this tournament is Zhaohu is the initiator. Galio, who's the other one? Lissandra. Initiating with Lissandra ult. Well, I guess I'm wrong. Nautilus engages.
Looks for the binding, but he can't get the damage down. Good depth charge onto the back line. Carrier going in with the soul. Shackleman just out of range. Shot Blast does so much work in these fights, but the Ocean Soul a possibility for RNG.
So we got.
T1 do not have vision in the pit, and the Ocean Soul is gone. RNG secure it. T1 last legs.
I don't know why T1 didn't try that. Let me see here again.
Catches owner. There's the Everfrost as well. Owner pots a stopwatch. T1 on the retreat, and owner left to his lonesome has to flash. Ming flashes forward, looks for the binding, but he can't get the damage down. Good depth charge onto the back line. Carrier going in with the soul. Shackleman just out of range. Shot Blast does so much work in these fights, but the Ocean Soul.
Well, one thing I guess is because that Jace Shock Blast is down so long, like he didn't have it again. So they knew to stay, like RNG knew to fight close here and not get distance because T1's got Jace to poke. So you've got to poke some damage down before you initiate. Like you got to stand here and poke maybe half their health down before you can then go in the other hammer form and go all in and fight with your team. And that's the thing about the poke comp is you gotta, it takes a while to get the poke damage off. So RNG probably won the game right here because they got the soul. That's why like this works really well with teams that aren't good. Jace, But when you get against teams like RNG that are really good, they don't stand around and argue with each other within the team and the comp, allowing Jace just to keep poking and poking and poking, because that's probably what T1 got away with all spring, is because they would have a poke champion usually. And so you've got teams that just don't run well together, and they're not communicating within the voice comm at all, like they're arguing with each other. And then you can probably further frustrating them, just poking them with Jace or Nidalee Spears or whatever. Kaiser W's. And so that might be one thing that T1 was exploiting all spring and why they got away with it. But see, RNG did not allow them to poke them like that, because they didn't stand around trying to figure out, well, we're going to go here or there, because they make split-second decisions and that's it. And I'm sure, like, RNG, they use Zalhu that do this and everyone follows, do that, which that's how you got to operate, because a lot of times it doesn't matter if one person's right or wrong. It's just everyone needs to agree on one thing, because either one is right. And so RNG get the Scryer's Bloom to have vision on this and clear any out. Owner is gone. Ben just used his TP. Zalhu's ult is down, or I mean Zalhu's flash is down. His TP is down, but Owner's gone, so they won't be able to. Oh, I thought he was a goner. Now he got Guma healed, I guess. Yeah, so Waze. That was a good Azir ult.
Bin still on the chase. Baron secured for RNG 2 kills as well. And RNG will be able to get out, force T1 away.
Beautiful response from RNG. They get themselves the soul. They get themselves the Baron.
Sorry, I'm taking that fight in. There's a lot going on.
They are just playing so cleanly. They left T1 with so few options, you know, pushing them out.
Again, I think, but I don't think I need to replay it. I really think it's the range support, and you just take them out, and then it's unfair fight. I don't think they're garbage. But...
RNG winning out on all sides, have played a near perfect game one here in full control. It feels like start to finish from the level one, punishing.
Did they just tandem the game? I was saying I think it started back with Guma dying in the very beginning, and it tilted. I don't like that word, but it tilted T1, or not T1 whole team, but it tilted Guma. Because like I said earlier, I think Guma might be the thin-skinned player on the T1 roster, so you got to keep him happy at all times.
The mission is accomplished. The Baron is secured. It ends up being a 2-for-2, and T1 are forced to retreat.
It's just so hard. I mean, Gala and Ming weren't even there, and T1 were losing out on that fight. It's almost a death cap now, complete for Bin.
So Operation Save Guma is not working out team fights from Keria, because he's been Guma's janitor, I guess, all spring. Just cleaning up all his mistakes. That's what's frustrating, is you see how good T1 is, and then they make a really dumb mistake that like a 5-year-old knows not to do.
How much would have changed if Kamiushi wasn't caught out at the level 1, whether they could have had more pressure down towards that bottom side. T1 have shown us stronger early games throughout the course of MSI, and of course in the LCK.
Like his Jhin, where you play Jhin like a tank, I guess. For example, Guma's Jhin. And so RNG take advantage of the Baron buff. I've went over this in my other VODs, but how important when you get the Baron to then take advantage of the buff you get and push into the enemy base. That's usually about what's going on in the map by the time you get Baron buff, is you're trying to push into the enemy base. Zeus probably gone.
Next goes in for Poe, flash in.
Looking for the damage onto Owner. He ults Ming to try and get away. Xiao, who's still on the chase. Guardian Angel available for Owner. He will tick down. But the Guardian Angel is not popped. Still, RNG now know they're at a 5v3 advantage in the mid lane as they push in.
And so at this point, I think the game's over. You want me to keep track of the stuff, or we got it? So I'm gonna check these notes here. There's got a lot of extra stuff. Oh, I wanted to show the thing I showed again about what may have happened with that Baron. I've showed this twice now, but here's what how Tarzan uses the Nocturne ult. This is a game where LNG need this Baron. You see they've got 3 dragons against their 2. I think, and they win. This is like one where they, I don't know, it's 0-0. Anyways, they're in a playoff where if they lose, they're out of a chance of going to Worlds. So, anyways, Tarzan uses his Nocturne ult like this. Since Griffin, it's been said Tarzan is probably the best jungler in the world, or at least one of the best. I don't like to pick favorites or have opinions, but me personally, I probably watched him the most out of any jungler. So does that make him the best or my favorite or whatever? I don't know, but I've watched him more than any other. So just he does so much different stuff. But this is how he uses the Nocturne ult to get this Baron, so no one can steal this Baron from him. Holds on to the Nocturne ult where most people would have already used it and engaged somewhere down here. And so they're skirmishing. Now they are skirmishing. LNG's kind of a want to fight all the time team. But he hits the Nocturne ult, so he uses the Nocturne ult so they can't steal this Baron. And then he still has time to go and initiate somebody. I don't think this is the one. I saw this a couple times, I think. Maybe this is it, but I've never seen anyone else use the Nocturne ult like that, and it kept this from being stolen. And then he had time to even use it in the team fight. So I just wanted to point that out. Again, I've never seen others use the Nocturne ult like that. They always use it as soon as it's up. Like I did VOD review of Inspired. It's just like as soon as that ult's up, gotta use it. Gotta use it. And there Tarzan's holding on to it to the very last second before smiting a Baron. And then it does. The other team can't even see to smite or whatever to do. So anyway, I don't know exactly what. Let me go back here a second. I wanted to see. I wanted to see where the Baron fight is, but I guess it doesn't matter. I wanted to see what Owner did exactly. But one thing I noticed, Owner has Conqueror, and usually people take Lethal Tempo. So does that mean he was smurfing? I don't know. Like, I don't know. The vibe I get from players and teams is people don't care about MSI, so it's not really a big deal one way or the other who wins. I thought T1 would, like, deserve the win. Faker on he's never won on his home soil. That's what's nuts. Is he's never won a world international event in Korea.
Considering the closeness of RNG versus EG, many touted T1 as the clear favorites coming into
Koreans are very proud of their country.
convincing game one, showcasing we're here to play, we're here to compete, and we're here to secure ourselves our third title.
Smoke gonna go in, looking for the damage here already. RNG just ripping T1 into pieces in the river. The river painted with T1's blood. Gala dashing forward.
Yeah, I don't know really what I could have pointed out there because it was like a 10k gold lead, so and again I pointed it out earlier like in that team fight, but Jace, you gotta allow Jace time to poke people, and RNG never allowed Zeus to poke them down. So Ming styles and uses his stopwatch at the very end. And so there's game one. And I do have some notes.
Leverage their strong laners, but they couldn't really convert it. And I don't think that there was any particular mechanical execution error from T1. I think it was largely just down to
I wrote game summaries. So game one, Guma dying before start of laning. This one's kind of mean. RNG looked healthy to me for being quarantined. Herald more valuable than Dragon. Did RNG plan to get Herald first? Distance timing concept. I have this concept where I don't know if teams think about it, but like say I'm going from this point in the base and my teammates here fighting, and maybe I have time to save him, or he's getting ready to take a fight or whatever, playing something, the O's, the whatever, so X. I'm new to this. X. So X here to get to the other X. Knowing that exact time, is that like 20 seconds exactly? I would think that professional players and teams should know all of those. And with the boots, is that something they've not thought about, or do they know? Because that allows you to say this was a fight where X is going to lose, but X takes this fight here so other X can come in and take down the O. Now, I've said in my other VODs that I don't think you should, personally, if I was coaching, one of my mantras is don't take a fight alone. Like every fight should have a teammate around the corner in case the other team has one or something goes wrong, unless it's like absolutely 100%. But when it's a coin flip, no. Unless you have a teammate that can back you up when things go wrong. It's easier to make less mistakes than fix and clean up mistakes that you've already made. So just knowing the distance from, or like knowing the exact distance from here to this blue buff, or knowing the exact distance of here to here in between this. So it allows other fights around the map, and so that's my distance timing concept. Do teams, players, do they know that? Think about it. Or is that something new? I would think they would know that stuff, but maybe some have never even thought about that. Me personally, I don't really pay attention to the times because, like, if I'm coming from base and going back in, most people are usually tabbed out, right, and looking at other stuff. But you can clearly track that time and know, and then set that time, and whatever. I could get further into it, but that's that. So knowing, okay, overextending and the line. I went over it in my VODs about the line. Oh man, how do I do all of this? I guess I could just do this. Okay, so there's a concept I call the line that goes from this corner of the map over to this corner of the map, and it splits like this is O and this is X. And so that's the line. And once you're X and you cross over here, then you're in enemy territory, and that's crossing the line where you should not be there if you're just a single X. If you got an X here, a teammate, then yes, you can cross that line. Or if you're Faker, I guess it's okay because he comes back almost every time. But a lot of players should never be allowed to cross that line. And that line moves the further you go into the game and get vision and on. But that's the line concept, which Ben is one that loves to go over that line as well. Faker is allowed to skirt that line, and he does. He knows all about it. Ben crossed the line, and he got lucky. T1 poke comp, need to poke enemy out before engage, and RNG really didn't allow him time to do that. Stopwatch counter, need to poke enemy out. I guess stopwatch is a counter to that as well, to the poke. Side leaning example of how Faker and T1 skirt to exploit the line in the fog of war. I kind of just went over that right now. I probably should go way more in depth in it, but that's something where I need to make a separate video. But yeah, Faker takes full advantage of the fog of war and tricking players that he went somewhere else that he didn't. Example, the flash that he did against Caps in the game 1 or 2 against G2 and lived because Caps thought he went the other direction. And that's why he's Faker. Was Jace some of the reasoning T1 lost? You know, Jace had just been nerfed. We didn't even see Jace there, so maybe that's one reason why they lost in this game. I kind of thought personally it's where Guma died and it just, the momentum went downhill, and T1 didn't take like a great team comp. They were seriously smurfing. Koreans do that, like, or LCK teams. They kind of like to, and I hear about that in their scrims, that they like to throw things out there and see if what they can get away with first, like limit tests. So maybe that's just part of the LCK planning, is the first game you kind of throw it away and it's a limit test, see what you can get away with. And Jace can't side lane very well because he can't really get away if he's overextended. I mean, he can, everyone can, and should at that level know how to get in and out of where the line and the vision is so they don't get seen. But I'll make some more videos that go way more in depth about this. The line, Gwen or Azir. We didn't really see Azir. Is Azir a counter to Galio or something? I mean, I guess you just have to ban Galio against Zahu. Do players forget about stopwatches in the game? I think that you see a lot of that. Players forget, oh man, he had a stopwatch and I didn't look. So that's something that each team, they really got to keep track of, and the timestamps, and keep looking in the inventory. Maybe it's the support's job, maybe it's the mids. Dedicate somebody, but keep track of those stopwatches so you don't take a team fight and then like somebody's going for a takedown. I don't like to say kill, going for a takedown. And then so somebody uses their ult on it and then stopwatch and wastes it, you know, but because they didn't pay attention or know that person had a stopwatch, they get greedy and want the takedown. Network latency theory for T1 versus China used to 30 to 60 ping. That's a touchy subject where Korea has 9 ping through their entire country on their entire internet. So it's like playing on a LAN, where China plays on Korea's server, which usually is like 30 to 60 ping for them. So they're already used to the artificial ping that Riot put in, which you want to learn about it, go research it. I don't really want to go into it and say, was it because of this or that? But my personal opinion is players that have played on almost 0 ping their entire life are forced. And at home, to all of a sudden play on 30 and 60 ping is not really fair. They're going to have a tough time, and they need time to adjust to that, and expecting them not to is pretty unfair. But that's just one man's opinion. I'm not saying one way is right or wrong. Just pointing that out, that would be really tough for T1 to play on that ping, because they don't. They're used to almost instant land-like reactions to all the cooldown or all the summoner spells and abilities. So anyways, that is game 1. We've got 4 more to go, so I think I'm going to cut it off here and see you on game 2. Thank you for watching.